Up until today, Ultraviolette Automotive just had the F77 electric motorcycle. Well, that's the fully faired version. First, they started off with the F77 Mark 1, there was the Mark 2, followed by the Super Street. Fully faired, of course. But now we are out here with a very different offering from the company in the form of the X47. Now, if you're wondering what is with the name, well, the company said that they have named this motorcycle after a concept aircraft. This is the X47. As you can see, different styling, different features, different aesthetic altogether. And of course, this one comes packed to the gills with features because this is the first electric motorcycle that we have out here in India that actually features RadarTech, and it is standard across the range of variants. Now, this motorcycle retails for around 2.5 lakh. That's the introductory price for the first 1,000 customers, followed by you'll have to pay around 2,75,000 rupees for this motorcycle, ex-showroom of course. But what's this all about? So let's get right to it. As usual, let's start off with the design and aesthetic of this motorcycle.
In case you were thinking, where have I seen this bike before? Well, in all likelihood, you would have seen it at the EICMA last year at the Ultraviolet Pavilion when it was showcased as the Concept X Electric. The X47 here, in effect, is the production version of that very motorcycle.
Now, the X47, it's a very mixed bag of sorts. Well, the company is calling it a crossover, but you see different features that tell you different things about this motorcycle, and it's a bit confusing in the design because you see from the front, you get this kind of supermoto kind of front face because it is very aggressive, very Hyperstrada looking beak up front, which is fiber, of course, chunky upside down fork up front, around 170 mm of travel on the front wheel. You get 17-inch wheels, alloys of course at both ends. You get a 320 mm disc up front, 230 mm at the rear. Both these wheels come draped with slightly dual purpose looking tires as well. Coming to the midsection of the motorcycle, well, this is where the bulk of the matter is. It looks a bit heavy in the midsection, but it is quite sharp and angular as well. Now, this is what should be your fuel tank, but you do have your conventionally located by Ultraviolet standards, your charging socket out here that you use to charge up either your 7.1 kilowatt hour battery or your 10.3 kilowatt hour battery, depending on the variant you choose. Let's move on. This is your motor unit located here. Well, that is 30 kilowatt unit. It makes around 40 PS of max power. Torque is rated at around 100 Nm, which is pretty good to have out on the go. Coming to the rear of the motorcycle, well, you do have a sporty adventure tourer kind of sports tourer, you could say, tail section with the seat, a one-piece unit, which is very different from what we've seen with the F77. All LED lighting all around, of course. Another aspect that I quite liked about the X47 is the colors, the textures and the materials that they actually have played around with on this motorcycle. For instance, if you look at the inner side of the tank shrouds, well, you will see this kind of camo looking carbon feeling panel out here, which feels very nice and it's very attractive to look at as well. Then you have stuff like matte painted tank area, you have plastic panels, you have gloss, you have matte finishes, you have a nice textured seat. Even the grab handles have a particular texture that feel very nice to the touch, and it all comes together very well and overall as a package. Now, coming to your display. Now, this is a very similar looking unit to the 5-inch unit that we've seen with the F77, but of course, Ultraviolet being Ultraviolet, they have to change things around. The information readout is very different from what we've seen before. There is quite a substantial amount of information to actually read out on the go, but you can configure it the way you like it and place things where you want. Traction control. On this X47, you do get 3 ride modes, which are glide, combat and ballistic. Glide obviously being the most efficient, or eco mode pretty much, and ballistic gives you access to all the power on tap. Yes, you do have 3 levels of traction control and you can put it off as well. You have 9 levels of regen with this motorcycle as well. Very similar to what you have with the F77, like the battery options. ABS, you do have switchable ABS. You can switch off ABS at the rear. Your range, ride, and you have different telematics that you can access through the app as well, including navigation. Switchgear, very reminiscent of what we've seen before with the F77, but overall a very different style motorcycle. It has that naked, aggressive, sporty tourer kind of thing going for it, and if that's your scene, well, this is a very nice motorcycle to look at. You have red, black, white and this unique color which they are calling the Desert Wing model. Also standard with this motorcycle is the wind deflector up front, and most importantly, this motorcycle is the first of its kind that gets RadarTech, standard across all models, and that's located right here, just above the number plate. It is simply a rear radar system and nothing at the front, but still, it is a system that you would usually see or you would equate with in vehicles that are more expensive motorcycles, even some four-wheelers equipped with ADAS tech. Now with this rear radar system, you do get four features which include lane change assist, blind spot detection, you do have overtake alerts, as well as an anti-collision warning system. The anti-collision warning system, how that works is basically the radar, it senses vehicles behind you within the span of around 200 meters, calculates your speed, the other vehicle's speed. It is equipped to give you around 2 seconds to react to that by giving you visual alerts on the screen and on your mirrors. So that's really impressive, and given the price that you have to pay for this motorcycle, which is under 3 lakh or just about 3 lakh, well, that is quite impressive, because with the amount of tech on there and the amount of fit and finish, the quality levels on this motorcycle is really outstanding, and they have done a tremendous job.
Now, having rear radar tech on a motorcycle isn't something you get to see and experience every day or very often, let alone on a bike that's powered by electricity or even of Indian build. And seeing a dedicated section to test these features out, well, this was something I had to check out right off the bat, because as you would imagine, I was obviously pretty kicked about it.
We were given a small sample on the smaller loop as what exactly this RadarTech includes. So basically, yeah, you get 4 features that include, well, blind spot detection, you have lane change assist, you have overtake alerts, and a crash detection system as well. We got a fair sample of that, but to be honest, as of now, all you get to see, the way you are alerted is simply through visuals, and you get a visual cue on the circumference of the 5-inch TFT and a couple of indicating lights on your mirrors as well. But yeah, to be honest, if you have all these features active during the day, not a lot that you can really make out, and even in the night, you really have to focus on your screen or have that kind of peripheral vision down below, because when you're sitting upright on the motorcycle looking ahead, you tend not to look down at your screen too much. Your mirrors also are quite far and wide in your peripheral kind of frame of vision. So yeah, it would have been helpful to have some audio cues to actually let you know without really paying visual attention to the bottom half of your, well, in fact, somebody is in your blind spot or going to overtake you when you're going to turn, or even, well, too close for comfort, to be honest. So yeah, that was a bit of a downer according to me. Getting a straight the motorcycle is not a real big fuss, but shorter riders might find it a little bit of an issue, because yeah, the seat, well, that stands at around 820 mm off the ground, and ground clearance, well, that is rated at around 190 mm. And as far as your riding posture goes, nice and upright, very unlike the F77 before. But this one, with the wide handlebar and the way the seat is positioned, and your pegs as well, it is more in tune with adventure touring, and you could actually spend a good amount of time in the saddle. You could equip this motorcycle with some decent luggage options at the back as well, because your pillion seat, well, that is quite flat, and with the new aluminum subframe, the subframe, well, you can attach a good amount of luggage on there with ease.
Now, an interesting bit about this motorcycle is the fact that Ultraviolette have patented a technology which basically works the ABS, the regen, and the traction control system in tandem with the IMU to provide stability during throttle transitions at various speeds. Now, that's basically to reduce the probability of a rear wheel lockup and keep things nice and smooth while you're out on the road. I had a good opportunity to test this feature out on the wet surface out here, where it appeared to work quite well even during the little time I had spent with it, even with the most responsive throttle mode engaged. Now, throttle response in general feels quite rewarding even in the most economical mode with the amount of torque you have on tap. Blip the throttle in ballistic mode and the electric feels overly eager and willing to accelerate, making you think the claimed acceleration time of 8.1 seconds from 0 to 100 km per hour very believable, although we are yet to test that bit out. Roll-on acceleration was very impressive as well, which would imply that this bike is going to make light work of getting ahead of slower moving traffic out on the road. The X47 responded very nicely to inputs and roll-offs as well. Even if you've built up speed and are unsure whether the bike's Brakes will bring you to a halt over a slippery surface. You could simply dial in a higher level of regenerative braking because that will really bring the bike to a halt both quickly and safely. The preload adjustable suspension setup isn't super soft, nor is it overly stiff in its stock setting. Still, the X47 handled moderate undulation surprisingly well, and over paved surfaces, the bike's mannerisms are predictable and quite excellent if I do say so. The more you do astride the X47, the more you'll appreciate its steel trellis frame with the aluminum bulkhead chassis and the low center of gravity, because it doesn't take long for you to really get used to the weight and dynamics of this bike for you to get that positive, predictable riding feel. I was pleasantly surprised as to how easy it is to tip this bike into a corner or even flick around at speed. I can't help but feel the more active your riding style, the more fun this X47 will bring you. The upright ergonomics and generous seating arrangement allow you to move around and get comfy in this bike saddle in any riding scenario. Standing up on the bike, however, over rough stretches didn't really feel out of place, but the bows are a little too low for my 5'9" frame, so it felt a little off for me in that sense as well.
Now we've had a small stint out here at this karting track with the X47, and by all means the chassis, the motor, the amount of power you have on tap, and the level of electronic intervention and safety tech as well, well, it really works wonders. And to be honest, if you're upgrading from a smaller capacity motorcycle to say something like a 350-400cc bike, and you don't want to go in for an ICE motorcycle, man, this thing is really an awesome choice to actually go in for. We did get a chance to get out onto the road, did a fair bit of highway riding as well, encountered some B roads as well with the little sketchy patches, and to be honest, well, I wouldn't deem this one to be an adventure motorcycle all throughout. It's not a thoroughbred adventure motorcycle, because although it is styled sort of to be an adventure motorcycle, it feels a bit out of place once you actually get down to hitting, or you get down to riding over the rough stuff. There's a bit of a disconnect in front, I felt so, because the front, well, the handlebar feels a bit light, but when you get over rocks and a bit of slush and sand, well, the front digs in a little too much and it gets a little heavy. Otherwise, just from the word go, this motorcycle is just a complete blast. Oh yeah, but you should note, although this is not a complete adventure motorcycle, the brakes, the way the suspension is tuned, it is slightly on the softer side. But as we found out here, although I didn't get to push it really out on this wet track, the suspension held up really well. It is a really nice, comfortable motorcycle, at least in our short stint with it. It felt like you could ride this bike all day, provided you have enough charge though. A lovely, lovely motorcycle all throughout, and Ultraviolet have done a stellar job, particularly with the pricing of this motorcycle. If you're going on some hard trails, going to ride rough, this motorcycle would feel a bit out of place. But then on light trails, going off-road and such, well, this motorcycle would handle it without any fuss. It is a lot more capable than something like the F77 and the F77 Super Street for sure. The X47 comes with an onboard charger, a 1.6 kilowatt unit located right here under the seat, and with that comes the added convenience of, well, this wire to actually charge the motorcycle on the go if you want to travel light and stuff. So I'll just show you what that's like. You just have to plug it in right here. There's another socket for the onboard charger. Plug it into your 3-pin plug on the wall or wherever, and you're down to charging once again. And the only downside to this being the fact that this onboard charger, well, it has pretty much half the charging wattage of your full-size boost charger. Now this is a 3.2 kilowatt unit, and it is pretty much like what it was before, but they have reduced the size and weight as well. It's down from 6 kgs to around little over 3 kgs now, so that's not too bad. But yeah, it'll pretty much half the time that it takes to charge with the motorcycle with this wire, because with the onboard charger, well, the company say that it will charge the motorcycle from 0 to 80% SOC in the span of around 8 hours.
Ultraviolet, according to me, have really hit the nail on the head with the X47, and that's particularly to do with its pricing, because at the starting price of 2,75,000 rupees, ex-showroom of course, you get a motorcycle that's got a decent range, is comfortable, capable, quick, rich with tech, feels premium by means of its fit and finish levels as well. You want more in terms of a battery, extended range, some cameras on there. Well, you pay more, you get more. That's simple. And that's simply brilliant in my books.
Alright, now to wrap things up out here with the X47 from Ultraviolette, what a lovely machine. I mean, there are some times when you're riding this motorcycle, it doesn't really feel like an electric bike. If you have your earplugs in, the amount of fun you can have with this bike, the agility, power, torque, you name it, this motorcycle just has it, and it's a good amount of fun to ride out on the road. Compared to something like the F77 and the Super Street, well, those are fully fed motorcycles that give you a different kind of aspect of biking. But this motorcycle, with the way it's set up in terms of the handlebar, the ride position, the ergonomics, the seat, just lovely. In terms of electronics, the suit on there as well, you have a good amount of electronics on there. The fit and finish, that is really commendable. The quality of plastics, the quality of materials, not only the plastics, that is really outstanding. It feels like a super premium product, and well, I'm proud to say that it's made in India actually.